served in the United States Air Force from 1965 to 1971.
Served in the United States Marine Corps from 1978 to 1983.
1957 to 1959.
1970 to 1990.
1954 to 1956.
For 21 years.
2010 to 2017.
It's Army Special Forces.
Well, I had experiences. I never considered anything to be gay, although in hindsight now I say that I was born gay, but I didn't know it back then.
I came in as an officer because I was working for the federal government. There was a shortage of male officers because of Vietnam. So they decided to tap female college graduates and send them directly to officers candidate school. But I wanted to be a pioneer and join one of the fields that they were just opening up to females.
I grew up in a very Christian-based family, and it was tearing me apart a little bit. And that's probably why I went in the service, only to venture out.
I joined the Navy at 21. I chose the Navy because I loved water, boats, the wonderful uniforms, the tight bell-bottoms that the guys wore with the baskets showing and stuff like that.
I was just searching for somewhere to fit, and I thought the service would be a good place to do it, and it was.
You can't help but gain something by being in the military. You get to know all kinds of people that you've never known before. I had never met a black person until I went into the service.
I think had I not joined, I probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet people that were quite different than I am.
I got to do a lot of travel. I got to see a lot of things. I got to do a lot of things. I got 2 years of college out of it.
It's traditional in a African-American family. When a boy turns 18, it's time for him to leave the home. So my dad suggested that I join the military.
Being in the military at that time, which was around 1960, was really not optional.
When I was 18 years old, I was quite out of the closet. But I wanted to fulfill that family tradition. So I was willing to go back in the closet to serve my country.
It wasn't really my choice to be part of the military. I was a gang member in a lot of trouble, so they're the only ones who would take me.
I learned a lot. I was disciplined. That's the number one thing it taught me was being more disciplined, and I got that in the Navy.
I went into the Navy as an apprentice seaman, and I left the Navy as an apprentice seaman. I had no ambition at all.
I regretted leaving when I left, and I sort of needed to for family reasons. It was really tough. Man, I wish I could have stayed in. I really loved what I did.
We would get letters from men saying, hey, I heard about you, let's get together. Obviously, they were trying to find out if we were gay or not. But it was so obvious, it was silly.
The way I hid my sexuality was I got married. I married a lesbian friend of mine. And for anyone to live two different lives at the same time is a very stressful situation. You don't really get the true feeling that one gets serving their country because you have a little bit of a resentment because you can't be who you are.
While I was down there, I had an opportunity to explore with the Navy guys, a couple of Marine guys. So I had an opportunity to explore.
One of the first persons that I met was this gentleman. We struck up a friendship, and it was with him where it really first came out that I was gay. He, of course, was gay too.
And that's how I met the love of my life, the ensign that I had the 6.5-year affair with.
But I didn't fall in love with the women. It seemed like I always fell in love unrequited with men in all of my different assignments.
They wanted to change everything about me. They had a lot of discrimination. I couldn't be who I was and who I wanted to be. I couldn't express myself. I had to be very manly, and I didn't like being manly, so.
And when I found out I was going to be on a base, it was like I hit a wall. I just remember just feeling like, oh, this is a different beast, that it wasn't safe to be me.
I never just made an announcement to people. Unless there's a need to know, there's no need to share.
I met somebody and I got involved, and unfortunately, at some point, my identity became known and my career began to suffer to the point where I had an opportunity where I had to retire from the reserves, from the Marine Corps, without a pension.
My first company, I had a lot of trouble with the male drills. And then I met my wife in training, and she wanted me to reevaluate whether I wanted to stay in that company. And I decided no. So I went to another company, which was great.
The military was one of the first successful example of integration that worked. So we know how to do it, but the will to tackle that issue of race in this country has not been followed.
They were not LGBT friendly at all in the military. I kind of always knew that I had it hard and even harder because I was Black, I was a female, and I'm gay, and they know. It's just harder for you. There was a lot of sexual harassment where I was at. I did suffer through MST in the military.
I was sexually assaulted by my training sergeant. Night in the bunkhouse, I went up to the latrine. While I was in there, he grabbed me from behind, threw me into a stall, and assaulted me. Then threatened me with harm on the base. I could have been hurt around the equipment. I could have had an accident. I was terrified. Then it happened a second time. And the third time he approached me, I just grabbed him around his Adam's apple. And I told him if he touched me again, I would kill him. And he saw that in my eyes and backed off and never touched me again.
Back then, the Rangers didn't have no women in there. And sure they had no intersex in there. I was first. And my basic was, when they found out, I had drill sergeants kept on come sneaking around raping me. Yeah. I couldn't go to the hospital. I could report him because he tried to kill me.
If I had been out to myself and really understood myself better at 17, there's no way I would have joined the military in 1984. I was repressing my gender dysphoria, and it was there. I mean, I have important memories from being 4 and 5 years old, but my way to survive in that world was to repress every bit of that. There would have been no opportunity for me to be authentically myself, none.
I didn't really get much support. You know, it was kind of like, just send trash out outside. Well, you're done, goodbye. You know, that kind of a send-off. And you know, that kind of bothered me, you know. And I was very bitter for a long time. I really was.
I had an affair with another Marine who I was later to find out that he had tested positive. A year or so later, he committed suicide, and I wasn't able to tell anyone about that experience either. So that had an impact on my service.
When I first joined, I was like the star airman in my shop. Unbeknownst to me, they found out I was gay. I became like the worst person in the world. I was getting in trouble for things that nobody gets in trouble for. And so the type of punishment, the type of treatment I was receiving was extreme because they were anticipating on wanting to separate me from the military. But they had to find a way to do it legally.
Took on bird again. I went back, pilot and co-pilot was dead. Took him out of the cover. I went back to the squad. I scraped all the VC. I killed all of them. Went down and saved my squad. But now, because the Rangers know I'm intersexual, I got me missing in action.
There were many instances where I felt that I was walking on glass. I regret having to lose my personal integrity by having to pretend to be something that I began to realize was not me.
I also learned how to be a chameleon. I could be whatever people wanted me to be. And I think that continued into my private life.
I was considered military property, which I didn't really like, you know, military property. I'm a human being with feelings and blood, emotions, heart. Of course, there was bashing, so you had to be really careful. Once I did get done pretty bad. I got PTSD even to this day, and I have a scar running down my forehead. They found me on the side of the freeway, almost dead. So
I remember when they did announce Don't Ask, Don't Tell as an idea, they went on a witch hunt. And the trauma, the stress, you know, I broke out in hives. I couldn't do my job. At that point, I made a decision that I was going to change my lifestyle. So I joined a born-again Christian church, and I went through a program that they recommended for conversion. I decided I'm gonna kill the gay gene in me, or however that worked.
I joined the military in 2010. During that time, it was Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So I kind of had a big dilemma trying to portray something that I really wasn't. I didn't want to be singled out for being lesbian in the military. I did have a girlfriend. However, at the time, I was afraid that if eventually we get married or something that, you know, I wouldn't be able to include her into my benefits and stuff like that. So those kind of things, it felt unfair. If I were to get married, I wouldn't be able to take care of my family. And the person I was with, I couldn't really be myself.
Being that I was a guardsman for my entire career, I was able to successfully keep my personal life private. I pretty much decided that I would not try and engage in anything and just wait till I was on my own time.
I was out before the service. Going into the service, I had to hide it, which I was okay with that. But it was kind of difficult because I had a tattoo on my leg of the two female symbols, so they knew what, you know, they knew everything. I received a dishonorable discharge.
As a personnel officer, I did see a lot of people separated once they found out they were gay. They would be court-martialed for the most part.
The Office of Naval Investigation approached me and said that I was too friendly with people, and they suspected that I may have been gay. So I volunteered to resign at the convenience of the government.
To get out of the service, I set up a gay scenario, let them discover it, and then I was able to be discharged under general conditions.
I remember my colonel's words as he was discharging me. He said to me, Grady, he said, if this was a war, you'd be the first person I would go to combat with. He said, unfortunately, it's peacetime. We have no use for you.
I met Paul at the beach. It was really my first homosexual relationship. We dated a few times. He said, why don't we live together? He was older and much more experienced. And I knew he'd had lots of relationships. And I told him only if it was going to be for life. I didn't want a one-night stand sort of thing. And so we moved in together.
I've had a relationship with a man for about a year. Then I met my lover, Ken. We were together for 18 years. He died of AIDS. And since then, I haven't developed any close friendships.
The only reason I got out is I met my wife. We would not have been serving together, so we wanted to stay together.
While I was in the military, I was able to explore my sexuality, but everything was so secretive. Like, I was trying to be something else, and then I was still trying to put on a dress at my Navy ball. I explored it, but at clubs with alcohol, not the way that I wanted to explore it, not openly.
I actually met my current partner and fiance. I met him in church, and we've been together now for about 35 years.
The service introduced me to my future husband, and we were together for 56 years, thanks to the military. I don't know that they planned it that way, but we made it work that way.
I would want younger service members going into the service to really investigate what the different aspects of their gender and how it's going to fit and play out and how others are faring in that branch of service.
Unfortunately, when you sign a contract with the military, you're theirs for 24 hours a day. If you can take structured command, and if you can separate those two and have the two hats on, then you'll be fine. If you can't do that, then the military probably is not a very good option for you, because at some point it will cause problems.
As far as one's sexuality, I think one still needs to be careful.
Look at it like another job. Consider the culture of the company and know what you're getting into.
Live your life out loud, be proud, and serve with pride.
Don't be afraid to be who you are. Be happy and be proud.
Do not be afraid to be who you are. I fought for your right to be. Do not let me down.
I worked my way up through the ranks. I got a commission. I did everything the military expected of me. It's like I didn't exist. Like all that hard work I did didn't matter. For a long time, I just kind of put that chapter away. I didn't really want anything to do with the military. I didn't even go to the VA, nothing. So I really kind of dropped out. And it wasn't until I came here, that I finally said, you know what? I finally have an opportunity to be who I am.
Not being able to cope with the death of Eric, I took to cocaine use and alcohol, and it went on for many years. I became drug and alcohol free, and I became a survivor.
I would probably be dead because the VA system, the medical, has kept me alive. I've been HIV positive for over 30 years. And because of the VA, I've been able to get all the medications and treatments I need.
I don't know, there were things I had to recover from, get my innocence back and my good feelings about people and the world. There are things that are part of you for life. I don't care how little you served in the military. It's something that puts in you that's with you forever.
When I had first gotten out, I was suicidal. I would say it took me 40 years to bring this topic up with my psychiatrist. He said, you're suffering from PTSD. From that point on, with the VA, I started going to PTSD workshops and support groups to learn more about it. And then in addition to that, I'm also a member of the LGBT Veterans Color Guard, which is the first LGBT color guard and the only in the nation.
I started making donations to the center in 1986. And then in 2016, I came back to the center and I joined the bereavement group here and joined the veterans group.
I believe I had a good ride with my military career. I made some mistakes, I got hurt, but I think I did well.
The lingering experiences for me from the military were just some of the choices I started making when I got out. I was a lot stronger because of what I had gone through, but I think I was also weaker in some ways as far as trusting people.
I first started cross-dressing after the service, but whenever I would go past certain shops, I would always, dream about becoming the person that I knew it was inside me to come out.
There was a group of Vietnam vets in South LA. They showed me the forms that I could fill out, and in 1980, we received upgraded discharge.
I became a gay activist in the early 80s, and also at the same time, a civil rights activist. I joined a group called Black and White Men Together, and we dealt with both aspects.
The experiences and what I've learned, I cherish more than the hardships and the pain and struggles that I went through, because it's helped me to survive and exist and actually be happy and joyful as a female who I am today, regardless of what's happened to me. So at my age, I feel grateful for everything.